Chapter 11 focuses on motivating to win. Motivation in management is defined as the willingness to achieve organizational objectives. Through the motivation process, people go from need to motive to behavior to consequences, and finally either to satisfaction or dissatisfaction, with feedback mitigating that process. Expectations significantly impact performance. The Pygmalion effect states that management's attitudes, treatment, and expectations of workers largely determines workers' motivation. So Dawn Staley, who's pictured here, was a 3-time Olympic member of the women's basketball team. She's a Hall of Fame basketball player, inducted into the Hall of Fame, has recently taken over South Carolina's women's basketball program, and set some pretty high expectations, and those student athletes have risen to that level as South Carolina has emerged on the national scene. Self-fulfilling prophecy refers to employees' expectations of their own self. Okay? So essentially, you're either going to live up or down to your expectations. So if you have high expectations of doing well, you'll live up to that. If you have poor expectations or low expectations, you're more than likely going to live down to those. The performance equation is based on 3 factors. Performance equals ability times motivation times resources. For maximum performance levels, all 3 factors, ability, motivation, and resources, must be high. The chapter outlines 3 areas of motivation theories. Content-based theories simply focus on identifying and understanding employee needs. Maslow's hierarchy of needs provides the basis for several content-based theories. It proposes that people are motivated by 5 levels of needs. Physiological needs are food, shelter, and water. Safety needs are the need for safety to feel safe and secure. So as an employer, you can provide safe working conditions, salary increases to meet inflation, some job security. After safety needs are met, people are looking for love, friendship, and acceptance. So in terms of providing social needs, you can design jobs so people have opportunities to interact, to be accepted, and to make friends. Esteem needs include status, self-respect, recognition, and a feeling of full self-confidence and prestige. So you want to help people excel at their work, give more merit raise, and recognize excellence. Self-actualization is developing one's full potential through growth, achievement, and advancement. And you can do this by giving employees more control over their work, encourage creativity, and expect achievement. Hertzberg classified 2 sets of needs. He put lower level needs into a classification called maintenance or hygiene. He put higher level needs into a classification called motivators. 2-factor theory proposes that employees are motivated by motivators rather than maintenance factors. Maintenance factors are also called extrinsic factors because they come from outside the job itself. These factors include pay, job security, working conditions, fringe benefits, and relationships. Motivators are called intrinsic factors because they are derived from the work itself. These include achievement, recognition, challenge, and advancement. In terms of motivating employees with 2-factor theory, the best way to motivate them with this theory is to ensure that they're not dissatisfied with maintenance factors and then focus on motivating. The key is to build challenge and opportunity for achievement into the job itself. Acquired needs theory states that employees are motivated by 3 things: the need for achievement, the need for power, and the need for affiliation. People with a high need for achievement tend to be characterized as wanting to take personal responsibility for solving problems. McClellan's research showed that only about 10% of the U.S. population have a dominant need for achievement. Evidence exists of a correlation between high achievement need and high performance. So you want to give these employees non-routine, challenging tasks with clear, attainable objectives. People with a high need for power like to control situations, they hate losing, they have a lower need for affiliation. So as a manager, you need to let them plan and control their jobs, and they often work better alone. Those with a high need for affiliation seek close relationships with others. They're joiners. They'd rather work in groups. They can make great mentors because they like working with others and contributing to team success. And effective teams typically have a good number of high need for affiliations. Process-based theories are slightly more complex than content-based theories. Process-based theories go a step further than content-based theories and try to understand the following issues. For example, why employees have different needs, why their needs may change, how and why employees choose to satisfy needs in different ways, including the mental processes employees go through as they understand situations, and finally, how they evaluate how well they're satisfying their needs. Goal setting theory proposes that achievable but difficult goals motivate employees. Our behavior has a purpose, which is usually to fulfill a need. Therefore, goals give us that sense of purpose. So when you're trying to motivate employees, you need to use the SMART acronym and set SMART goals. SMART refers to making specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and having a target date for completion. Evie Stevens, who's pictured here, left Wall Street to become her goal of being a professional cyclist. Along the way, she set another goal, which was to break the UCI World Indoor Track Record for the most distance in an hour, which she has successfully done in the last month. Room's expectancy model is based on the idea that employees are motivated when they believe they can accomplish the task and also that the reward is worth the effort. So the equation below illustrates that. So motivation equals expectancy times balance. Expectancy is the perception of our ability to achieve the goal or the probability of success in achieving the goal. So the higher expectancy, the higher chance of success. Balance refers to the value we place in the outcome or reward, so how important it is to us. Therefore, the more we value the reward, the more we are motivated. Expectancy theory also works best with employees who have an internal locus of control. If they believe they can control their destiny, their efforts will result in success. Here are some guidelines to follow to help motivate employees using expectancy theory. First, you need to have a clearly defined goal that's achievable for your employee. Second, you need to tie their performance to a reward. Then the reward has to be something that they care about. And finally, they have to believe that you're going to give them a reward. So let's say I'm trying to motivate you in class by saying that I'll bring in candies for the winner of whatever activity that we do. And one, nobody cares about candy because we're so health conscious here. Or two, I already did that before, but then I never brought the candy in, and then people's motivation diminished because they didn't think I'd actually give them the reward. So you have to make sure it's things that people care about and that you actually follow up with that. Reinforcement theory proposes that consequences for behavior cause people to behave in predetermined ways. Skinner stated that behavior is learned through experiences of positive and negative consequences. Again, the focus is on consequences for behavior. Reinforcement theory is about getting people to do what you want while they figure out what's in it for them. So there are three parts that lead to the operant conditioning. The first is a stimulus, which essentially is an initial action, then a responding behavior to that initial action, and then finally a consequence, whether it's positive or negative reinforcement. So in order to get the behavior you want, you can engage in 4 different tactics. You can use positive reinforcement, which basically you're rewarding good behavior through praise or through some sort of other incentive that somebody values, of course. Second, avoidance, so people avoid the negative consequence because they're afraid to break the rule because they fear like getting fired or making their team run or something in that manner. Extinction is basically the idea that if you ignore a problem, it eventually will go away. And then punishment is pretty self-explanatory. It's a negative consequence for a behavior. So extinction and punishment, neither one of them lead to actually improved performance. They're just kind of fear-based. There are several guidelines for motivation with reinforcement, which sound similar to the expectancy theory. You want to set clear objectives, give appropriate awards, set a reinforcement schedule. Intermittent probably would work best. Do not reward poor performance. So if your client or athlete isn't doing particularly well, you don't want to reward that type of behavior. The last 3 parts of motivation using reinforcement theory are focusing on the positive with your clients, employees, or student athletes, giving them praise regularly, and doing things for them, not to them. So here's a picture of Evie Stevens and her coach prior to her setting the world record. Ideally, in their conversation, he's focusing on the positive that she's done in her training, and he's giving her praise as she goes out to compete to break the record. Ultimately, each theoretical category focuses on a different stage in the motivation process. Content-based theories address what needs people have that should be met on the job. Process-based theories address how people choose behavior to fulfill their needs. Finally, reinforcement theory addresses what managers can do to change undesirable behavior.